but I'm very frustrated by the lies that are in the mainstream media. Really is very frustrating because it's helping nobody except the pharmaceutical companies, the big food companies, and the government. That's all it's helping.
Yeah.
So over 60% of uric acid in the body, so when we do the phlebotomy, is made by the body. It doesn't come from diet. So already we're 60% into that level. Your body wants it.
I was hoping you might be able to get into gout and uric acid and how that relates to plant consumption.
Well,
I'll
yeah,
ride that one.
Gout. Now, okay, so when we do phlebotomy, there are people with high levels of uric acid and they have no gout. High levels of uric acid and they have no gout. Or you can have low levels of uric acid and incredible gout. So straight away you think, well, is it uric acid or is it some other thing? And my guess is it's some other thing, because I've got success stories on my channel of people reversing gout by eating lots of meat. So there's more than 2 or 3 potential problems. So oxalates is one, and fructose is another, where it's a consumption of fructose that is possibly causing gout-like symptoms. Oxalate is definitely another one. So we've known about that for a long time. I think it was a group of scientists from Finland in 1967 were looking at uric acid, and they were looking at the role of fructose, and fructose was definitely linked to the rise in uric acid. So I'm not saying uric acid isn't in there, but it is a potential. It has a potential biological mechanism where it could be involved. But uric acid is also an antioxidant. Now, when you have much lower levels of vitamin C, the body does still like to produce antioxidants. So sometimes that uric acid is up for that role. And again, that's well known. If we go back to what we were talking about, red blood cells and vitamin C, I just go off there on a tangent, if you don't mind, doing a Richard Smith now. But when we look at the red blood cells, people talk about iron, and there's heme iron and non-heme iron. So when we eat animal products, we're taking in heme iron, Fe2+. When we take in non-heme iron, which is Fe3+, it has to be converted to the ferrous Fe2+, and you need a ton of vitamin C to do that, because there's a thing called vitamin C ferroreductase. It's an enzyme which will take that non-heme iron and make it heme iron so we can use it in the body. And the reason I'm pointing this out is because people think we don't have enough vitamin C. That's why we're potentially going to have a lot of gout. Well, we don't need so much vitamin C because we don't have to convert non-heme iron to heme. So that's just another little sort of side note. So gout is possibly more involved with sort of things like omega-6s, which are inflammatory. So if you're eating a lot of plants, if you're eating a lot of processed foods, there could be a higher level of omega-6 or more omega-6 compared to omega-3, because you're not having fish and you're not having grass-fed beef and all that, which is great for the ratios of omega-3 to omega-6. So I don't think there's anything that sort of can nail it onto uric acid as the actual culprit here. It's more what you're eating, fructose and oxalates, which is coming from veg. Over 60% of uric acid in the body, so when we do the phlebotomy, is made by the body. It doesn't come from diet. So already we're 60% into that level. Your body wants it. It's not actually uric acid which is the problem. It's the elimination of uric acid. So we're going to get right to the nub of it. And do you know what causes the problem with the elimination of uric acid? Kidney function. So we go back to kidney function. Well, if your kidneys are not functioning great, because maybe you're a little bit diabetic, or maybe you've got some water retention problems, or you're drinking too much water, or not having enough salt, for instance, well, you're going to have some kidney function problems, and it's not going to eliminate uric acid. And that, I can't really emphasize it enough. It's not the overproduction of uric acid. It is the inability of the kidney to function and get rid of it. So it's elimination rather than eating red meat and purines, which is just rubbish when you look at clinical experience.
I see you've got a couple of books there in the background. My mum's actually currently reading one of them, and she's finding it really interesting. Would you like to talk a little bit about your books?
Oh, yeah, thank you. All right.
Yeah, no worries.
Well, to this end, and I'm actually rewriting or improving or adding, however you want to word it, I wrote a book called The Guide to Blood Tests in the Context of Keto, Low-Carb and carnivore, because a lot of what I'm saying here, and I touched the surface, there's a great bit about LDL actually in the book, and how we reduced oxidized LDL with a meat-based diet. And we proved it with blood tests over like 3 or 4 months, actually proved it. So that, that's one of the books. And I've also got a very good guidebook called How to Be Carnivore. One of my 1-star reviews on Amazon said, yeah, but it didn't tell me why. I'm like, no, because it's called How. So it's a practical guide to how to be carnivore. If you want all the science and stuff like that, maybe I should write a book about that. It does touch on the science a little bit. And on the other side, there's a Carnivore Cookbook. So people that think, well, it's not much variety, there's a Carnivore Cookbook there. I have over 250 recipes which are carnivore based. So I felt a book was needed to get some of this out there. Now, the other thing about the bloods is I did it so people could take a chapter and read it, because I find most people like, oh, I don't care about liver function because my kidneys are a problem. And one of the reviews said it's a bit repetitious. Well, every chapter starts as if you've never read the rest of the book. It's supposed to be a book you dive into. So if you don't like the little bit of repetition at the beginning, just skim it to the bit you want to find out about that particular organ or that particular blood test. But yeah, I've been really pleased with the book. Yeah, thanks for asking about that. I hope your mum's enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she told me she's finding it really interesting. So I'm
Great.
sure she's
That's
learning
good.
loads. Yeah, it just keeps her on track, because she's been carnivore for a while now, but not as long as me. She kind of, and I think it's a good thing. She gradually sort of came off of her Sunday roast, and then it was just a few potatoes, and she gradually cut them out. And I think she's not even drinking any teas or coffees either. So she's really like,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, lion
I
diet
should
with eggs, I guess, a bit of
Yeah,
butter.
I should have been a bit more humorous as well, because I mean, for instance, in hospitals, when you're carrying bags of blood around, it's called house red and stuff like that. And it's, I just like all that.
Yeah, yeah,
The problem is I've got too much to say, I think. And
yeah.
at the moment, I'm feeling quite not aggressive, but I'm very frustrated by the
Of course.
lies that are in the mainstream media. Really is very frustrating, because it's helping nobody except the pharmaceutical companies, the big food companies, and the government. That's all it's helping.
Yeah,
So we need to just be a bit more aggressive about the reality that people are getting their health back by eating the right way. It's
yeah.
it's very frustrating. And when you see ridiculous claims about what causes type 2 diabetes, when you can clearly disprove it by using actual real people, it does make you very frustrated, to the point of being a little bit cross about it. The
Oh,
thing
mate.
is that is good about this way of eating is you don't get all angsty, and you don't dye your hair purple and start doing a big blockade, because it makes you less anxious, more calm and rational. And you know that seems to not cut much ice in the media, because we're just too sensible and we have too many good stories to tell. So yeah,
I
I
think
just
another
wanted
thing
to.
as well, you only have to sit and watch a debate, say, for example, with Anthony Chafin, somebody else, and he's too relaxed. And I think that actually, like people like Sean Baker, they're great, but actually they're so honest and true with what they're saying. They're actually saying, I can't say 100% if it's going to make you live longer. They're just telling the truth. That doesn't mean that we're not sure that this is the best way to eat or anything like that, or that we haven't seen countless anecdotes, just this incredible turnaround with people's health. That,
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I get
yeah,
that, and I get that in people that approach me for coaching, because they'll say, "Can you definitely help me?" And I'll say, "I can't say I can definitely help you. I can tell you from experience that I give you the best opportunity to get healthier and to turn your health around, but I would not be able to guarantee it."
yeah,
And anyone that says they can guarantee it is talking out of their rear end. I mean, I literally write that in the reply, and I don't get that person to come on to be coached, because I've been honest. Because
yeah,
you can't guarantee. Firstly, you can't guarantee that there isn't some underlying condition, even with bloods and stuff like that, that they don't know. For instance, there was one person that went carnivore and had a heart attack after like 3 months, and while all the vegans jumped all over it, a heart attack doesn't take 3 weeks of
right.
eating meat. Come on, it's a lifelong thing, like type 2 diabetes. It's in the making for 20 years,
Yeah.
so
That's the
you
thing. I
can't.
think we're not con artists. We are the genuine article. A lot of us have tried everything else. We've been very, very desperate, very, very sick. We found
Mhm.
this. It actually works. It's just a user-friendly diet that works. That we're just very open and honest about these things. And when we've got people like Bart Kay, who can come across quite aggressive, I know it's a character, but he will say, you know, well, you know what he says, basically. He will even say there's no real science out there. And that's a lot of people take that the wrong way, as if like, oh, well, why should we listen to you? We're saying there is none from any diet, you know. It doesn't matter whether they're saying that this shows this shows this. It's all opinionated, correlative, associative nonsense that doesn't hold a lot of value in many ways. And so we're just being very open and honest about what we're saying. And so many people take it the wrong way.
Yeah, I think if you look at that, I mean, he's talking about nutrition science because it's impossible to lock
Yes.
identical people in for large volumes in labs for a long period of time and study them. You can't do that. That's definitely true. But I would also say, you know, considering I've got a Bachelor of Science degree, that most scientific studies in general are not great, because there's always a conflict of interest. There tends to be, you know, a funding issue, confirmation bias. They're poorly designed, a lot of them. The conclusion is already drawn before they've done the study, and then you get adjustments which are based on assumptions, and you don't get the right result. It doesn't get published.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that is just the way it is. And if there's people out there go, nah, that's you again, you need to put your tinfoil hat on. No, this is reality, guys. This is exactly the way it is. I don't throw my dummy on the floor or whatever and throw a tantrum. But when I watch a video with someone like yourself, say, and then the adverts that follow selling kids Cocoa Pops, and you've got a little innocent child in the advert, that really winds me up the wrong way, because I thought we were getting somewhere with this. How is no one paying? Nobody pays ever. These Harvard professors didn't pay. Ansel Keys doesn't pay, and too many people are suffering along the way, and it's just disgusting. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. So
Yeah, and the biggest fines around are all pharmaceutical companies. You know, when we're talking billions of pounds, they are fined billions of pounds, and everyone seems to think that they're out there trying to find a cure. No, they're definitely not. And when they find something that is very, you know, the efficacy is fantastic, they get their accountants sending them letters saying this drug's too good, it's not great for your business model. And again, that's public record. That was a diabetic drug that was just too good. And it was curing people. It was actually getting rid of the diabetes. And it literally said in the annual report from the directors that we can't sustain this drug. It was taken off the market because it was bad for business. Now, someone picked me up on that when I said that. Well, that's a legal requirement for shareholders. Yeah, I absolutely get that. Because if I run a business and I've got shareholders, my reason to be is to make those shareholders make a profit. So I wasn't saying that the company was doing anything illegal. It was, what I was saying was, it's doing something that people find hard to believe. If you're running a pharmaceutical company, you are in it to make money, not make people healthy, because that's not good for your business. Well, that's so obvious. It's really frustratingly obvious. And to then be called out by somebody, you know, in the comments on the video, it's like, I get it. That's exactly what I'm saying. They are looking after their shareholders, not looking after patients. That it's really transparent and obvious, you know. And you also have, when pharmaceutical companies have sort of indemnity against any claims, well, that's dubious. You know, if you're not confident in your products, but you have to be excluded from the law if it makes a big mess, well, I tell you, there's something wrong there. So that's the thing that we're fighting. And I think when you look at all the science, you've got to look beyond the headlines. And then when you look at things like dietitians, and they're saying, and literally saw this morning, a video of a dietitian talking about diabetes, you know, don't have too much pasta because you want to be able to leave room for your rolls and your bread, you know. And it's just like, oh my word. And so dietitians who get on the high horse on Instagram about you have to have glucose, or again, I'm sorry guys, but you're idiots. You're useful idiots. The biochemistry book that's in the background there, and that's where the you need 120 grams of carbohydrate to run your brain comes from. Okay, well, that's true, but it doesn't say dietary carbohydrate. It says 120 grams of carbohydrate, or glucose, for people that want to know what I'm talking about. That's needed to run your brain, right? Well, your brain needs 5 grams of glucose per hour. Do you know what? That is exactly the level, like I said earlier, of a teaspoon in 5 liters of blood. So the body's got it sorted. The brain supply and the rest of the body's, we've got just enough glucose and don't need it from dietary stuff. There's a thing called gluconeogenesis, which is literally make, basically gluconeogenesis. We make it in our liver. We don't have to eat it. And you know what? It's the perfect dose because the body's really smart. So why would you get what the body takes and makes from non-carbohydrate substrates, and then say, well, it's probably doing it wrong, so we better shovel in an extra 9 times the amount of sugar 3 times a day. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And talking about like Dr. Greger and who, by the way, has never seen an actual patient, and Neil Barnard, for instance, talking about fat causing diabetes. Whenever you actually listen to what they're saying, fat is the problem because it can't deal with all the glucose you're eating. That's in essence, that's what they're saying. The body is having problems because all that glucose you're eating can't get into the cells because of the fat. Well, just take the glucose out and you reverse type 2 diabetes. They're just justifying their position with a ludicrous thing of shoveling carbohydrates down your neck when you don't need to do that. There's not 1 gram of carbohydrate is essential when it comes to eating it. So you don't need to eat it. And this is why you get tons and tons of reversal type 2 diabetes when people stop ingesting carbohydrates. It's not rocket science, guys. You know, you want to control your blood glucose, don't stuff your face full of glucose. It's absolutely,
There you
it's a
go.
no-brainer.
Definitely.
Can I ask one last thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Okay. Now, I've been told I'm allowed to do this. I'm actually producing a carnivore documentary.
Nice.
Or a health documentary, which is predominantly carnivore based. And we've got some great interviews in the bag. We've got some great footage already. We've got funding possibly in place. But what we're looking for is anyone that is thinking about being carnivore and hasn't taken the plunge yet. We'd really love a vegan or a vegetarian to put themselves forward, because what we're doing is we're going to follow a couple of people who take up carnivore, and we're going to do some tests on them and show the benefits, because we're so convinced that it's going to make big improvements. We're putting that out there that we will take anybody who wants to do it, even if you're an anti-carnivore sort of person. We would take you on if we felt you were going to follow the diet, obviously, not deliberately ruin it. But we're looking for people that would be interested. So if you're interested, do email me. Or if you know, say you're carnivore and somebody in your family, like your mum, Lee, is going to start it. It'd be great to get right in at the beginning, get some benchmark tests, and then see what happens in like 2 months' time.
No, that's a great idea. It's interesting because someone that I met at the conference actually got in contact, and he was saying it would be interesting if you got someone on like this, like a podcast, saying, and all the viewers could witness this transitional moment, and actually the questions that individual may have, which would help a lot of newcomers, you know, that have just found channels like this, to really learn quite a lot just in one video, that they could really connect with that other individual that they're watching. So I think that's a great idea, definitely. Where can we find you? And I will link all of that down below.
Yeah, on screen, the ukcarnivore.com is my website. I also have a podcast and a YouTube channel. You could look at YouTube Coach Stephen or Stephen Thomas, Bachelor of Science, which is easy to find, really. I do have an app, the Carnivore Experience, and also a podcast on Spotify and all other outlets called the Carnivore Experience. And we do a Tuesday night Carnivore Team GB thing. Lee, you're brilliant on there, which is ever so good. So you can see me there. And also with Richard Smith, we do a live every single Sunday at 7 p.m, whole hour of live question and answers, which is very popular. And also we run a school community, which is incredibly cheap to join. If you want to join our community and listen to myself waffling on and doing a live members only question and answer session at least once a week, join the school community. It's only $4 a month. And that's going to go up soon. So if you want to get in while it's nice and cheap, that's the thing I would do. And I'll send you the link, Lee, if you want to put it in the description.
Yeah.
But I'm everywhere, mate.
Awesome. That was great. Well, thanks again, mate, for coming on. It's always great to chat. And thanks everybody else for tuning in. See you in the next one.